The first lie came wrapped in concern. A text at 4:43 a.m. Short and cold like the hospital hallway she claimed to be in. Don't panic. I'm okay. Just at the ER. We'll explain everything later. I love you. I remember jolting upright in bed, the blue glow of my phone lighting up the ceiling. My heart punched hard against my ribs as I reread the message 3 times. She didn't answer when I called. Straight to voicemail. Hospital? Why? Emily was the picture of health. Yoga every morning. Kale smoothies, 10,000 steps religiously counted by her smartwatch. We ate clean, rarely drank, and she hadn't even had the flu in years. I paced the bedroom, then sat on the edge of the mattress, breathing into my palms. My mind wanted to trust the message, but my gut started whispering, no, something's off. By 7 a.m., I was making coffee I wouldn't drink and staring through the kitchen window like the answer might rise with the sun. Our daughter, Maddie, 5 years old and still dreaming upstairs, had school in 2 hours. My wife should have been there, helping me pack lunch, reminding me where Maddie's socks were. Instead, I was left with silence and a flimsy message. When she finally called later that morning, her voice was hoarse, apologetic, rehearsed. She said she had collapsed at a conference, dehydration, dizziness, chest pain. The hotel called 911. She was admitted overnight for observation. Some arrhythmia, maybe. The doctors wanted to monitor her for a few more days. I swallowed the story like medicine I didn't believe in. She insisted she was okay, that I shouldn't come. They're not allowing visitors right now, she said. Some kind of lockdown in that wing. She promised she'd be discharged in a few days and would explain everything then. The thing is, I wanted to believe her. Emily wasn't the lying type. Or so I thought. We'd been married 8 years. She was my axis, smart, warm, effortlessly charming. The kind of woman who made everyone feel like they mattered. But that call sat in my stomach like a stone. She didn't FaceTime once during those days. Always an excuse. I look like hell, or there's no signal in this wing, or the nurse just came in. By day 3, the hospital still hadn't called me. No nurse, no billing department, nothing. I Googled the hospital she claimed to be in, the one in Reno, near where the conference was held, and called their information desk. I asked to speak with Emily Harris, patient in cardiac observation. The woman on the other end paused. We don't have a patient by that name. My voice cracked. Could she be registered under a different name? Another pause. No, sir. There's no Emily Harris admitted here this week. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, she sent a blurry photo of a hallway, sterile white, with an 4-pole barely in frame. See? Proof, her message read. But even that looked off. Something about the angle, the lighting. It was like someone tried too hard to make it look mundane, and failed. I zoomed in. No hospital signage. No patient name. Just a blank corridor and an 4-pole. That evening, while folding laundry, I noticed something else. Her suitcase was missing. Not the carry-on she usually took for conferences. The big one. The one she only ever used for vacations. I opened her closet, confirming it wasn't there. Then I noticed her blue bikini was gone too. The one she bought in July, still with the tag 2 weeks ago. She said she'd return it. But it was gone now, along with a few other summer dresses I hadn't seen in a while. She had packed for something else entirely. I remember sitting down hard on the floor, a shirt still clutched in my hand, as my heart tried to piece this together. She wasn't in a hospital. She never had been. But then, where the hell was she? I began tracing the gaps. A week before this trip, she had been distracted, smiling too much at her phone, showering twice a day. One afternoon, I found her humming to herself while putting on makeup, not just mascara, but the full face. I asked if we were going out. She said, just wanted to feel pretty for once. Now it all made sense. Or rather, it made no sense at all unless I was willing to consider the one thing I swore I'd never believe of her. She was with someone else. I opened our shared laptop and clicked through the history. She was always good about clearing it, but this time, she'd slipped. A few searches for Lakeview Resort caught my attention. I clicked deeper. One page still had her login saved. A booking confirmation under her name, for a place I didn't even know existed. Lakeview Springs Resort. A luxury spot 2 hours from Reno, tucked in the Sierra Nevadas. The reservation? A king suite. Ocean view. Booked for 2 adults. Check-in, last Sunday. The same day she said she was rushed to the ER. I stared at the screen, my pulse pounding. The digital confirmation was a gut punch. It was cold, factual, a receipt of betrayal. For a few moments, I just sat there in the dark, watching the cursor blink at the end of her name. That little flickering line felt like it was daring me to scream, to throw something, to collapse. But I didn't. I printed the confirmation and folded it into my wallet like it was a keepsake. Then I sat back in the chair and stared at the ceiling. I wanted to be wrong. I wanted there to be some ridiculous, unbelievable explanation, anything that didn't end in infidelity. Instead, I imagined her in that suite, wearing the blue bikini, laughing, lying, undressing for someone else. The next morning, I made calls. Quietly, I hired a private investigator. I gave him the reservation details and told him what I suspected. "You'll have confirmation in a day or two," he said. 2 days later, I got a text. Just a link. I opened it, heart trembling. Photos. High resolution. Crystal clear. Emily on a deck chair, sunglasses on, holding hands with a man I didn't recognize. Later, the same man feeding her dessert from a spoon. One photo showed them kissing by the pool. Her hand was on his chest, his on her thigh. I clicked through them all, each one another scalpel carving into my chest. Then I saw the last one, her entering their suite, barefoot, the man behind her, pulling the door closed. And that was when something inside me snapped. Not with rage, not with sorrow, but with cold, perfect clarity. I knew exactly what I was going to do. There's a kind of silence that only comes when your world collapses. Not the loud, crashing kind, but the slow, hollow echo that follows. That's the quiet I sat in, long after the photos loaded. It stretched across the house like smoke, creeping into corners, seeping into the drywall, the carpet, the kitchen tiles. It filled my lungs. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't even move for a while. I studied each photo again, not to torture myself, though it did, but to map out every detail. The resort logo on the umbrella, the brand of the wine bottle beside her lounger, the timestamp at the bottom corner of each image. Wednesday, 5:47 p.m. The same night she texted me. "They gave me something to help me sleep. I'll call you tomorrow." She wasn't lying in a hospital bed. She was half naked in a resort robe, curled beside a stranger with his hand tracing her leg. I stared at that man, trying to read something in his face. He was tall, bald, tanned in that way that suggested a lot of disposable income and free time. Aviators. A lazy smirk. Older than her, by maybe 10 years. He looked like he played golf at places that wouldn't let me through the gate. I didn't know who he was yet, but I was determined to find out. That night, I couldn't look at our daughter without my stomach turning. Maddie was sitting on the living room rug building a zoo out of Legos, her small fingers carefully placing each piece. "Daddy, do giraffes sleep standing up?" she asked. I nodded. "Sometimes," I said, my voice catching in my throat. I watched her for a while, trying to reconcile the innocence in that room with the betrayal humming in the air like static. I wanted to protect her, but part of me also wanted to destroy something. Everything. Emily came home Saturday evening, the day she said she'd be discharged. I watched her walk through the front door like nothing had happened. Her hair was pulled back in a loose bun, her face a little flushed, a duffel bag over her shoulder. No hospital bracelet. No discharge papers. Just a faint scent of chlorine and sunscreen that clung to her skin despite her best attempts. She smiled at me like nothing was wrong. "God, I missed you," she said. "I feel like I've been gone forever." I nodded, forcing a tight smile. "Yeah, how are you feeling?" She gave a little shrug. "Tired, but better. They said it might have been a mild arrhythmia, but they ran a bunch of tests. Nothing serious. Just stress, probably." She was improvising, poorly. I could see the gaps forming in real time. But I didn't push her. "Not yet." "Glad you're okay," I said. "Maddie made you something." I watched her hug Maddie like a mother returning from war. All warmth and staged emotion. "I missed you so much, Bug," she whispered into our daughter's hair. "Mommy's home now." But not for long, I thought. That night, after she fell asleep, or pretended to, I got to work. Quietly, methodically. First, I pulled the printed reservation confirmation from my desk drawer and slipped it into the safe, along with the photos. Then I opened her laptop and started digging. Password, our wedding date. Still unchanged. She was lazy that way. Inside her inbox, I found the booking emails, multiple messages between her and the resort. Room service receipts. A couple's massage at 2 p.m. on Thursday. Dinner reservations for 2 every night. She'd really leaned into the fantasy. Even used a separate email address I hadn't seen before. But it was the photos on her phone that broke something permanent in me. She'd forgotten to delete them from her cloud sync. There they were, selfies of her and him, her head on his chest, his hand under her dress. One picture, taken from a balcony, showed them drinking cocktails as the sun dipped behind the lake. Caption: Heaven. I felt my breath catch, and for a second, I wanted to throw her phone through the window. But instead, I backed up everything. Every image, every message, every email thread. I sent it all to a burner account I'd created hours earlier. Then I waited. Sunday, she acted normal. Almost too normal. Breakfast together. Cartoons with Maddie. Laundry. Grocery run. She was laying it on thick, guilt theater at its finest. But I wasn't biting. I smiled. I played the role. I even offered to rub her back while she read on the couch. Every time she said, "Thank you for being so understanding," it took everything in me not to laugh. I needed time. So I gave her what she wanted, the illusion of safety. Monday, I met with the private investigator again, in person this time. His name was Raymond Pierce, a man who looked like he'd stepped out of a paperback thriller. Late 50s, silver hair, hard face. No small talk, just results. He handed me a manila envelope. His name's Mason Villaro, he said. 47. Divorced twice. No kids. Owns a digital marketing firm in Phoenix. Big money. This wasn't a one-time thing, by the way. I looked at the photos inside. More of the same man. Different locations. Different trips. One of them dated back 3 months. Emily, same bikini, same lazy smile, but in a different resort. Different state. I felt something inside me go still. Cold. Focused. Can you get me more? I asked. Raymond nodded. What are you planning? I didn't answer, because I didn't fully know yet. But the wheels had started to turn. Back home, I began laying the groundwork. I moved money, just small amounts at first, into a separate checking account. I secured our daughter's birth certificate and social security card. I made copies of every document I'd need if this turned ugly. I contacted a divorce attorney, scheduled an initial consult under a fake name. But revenge, real revenge, required more than lawyers. I needed her to fall before I filed. I wanted to dismantle the fantasy she thought she was living, piece by piece, while making her believe I was still under the spell. And I had just the plan. On Wednesday, I made dinner. A real one, steak, asparagus, her favorite garlic mashed potatoes. Maddie colored at the table, while Emily looked at me like I was her salvation. "This is perfect," she said. "You didn't have to do all this." I smiled. "You've been through a lot. I figured you deserved it." She leaned across the table and touched my hand. "I'm lucky to have you." I didn't flinch. I didn't say a word. I just looked her in the eyes, and for the first time, I think she sensed it, something shifting beneath the surface. Later that night, while she slept, I scheduled a delivery for Friday afternoon. A small black box from the same jewelry brand that sent Mason a $900 bracelet the week before. I'd seen the charge in his leaked bank records. This box, though, would contain something else entirely. Inside, a note. A message that would change everything. The day the box arrived, I watched from the upstairs window like a sniper in a tower. The delivery van rolled up at 2:06 p.m., right on schedule. The driver stepped out, holding the black velvet box in one hand, clipboard in the other. The label read from Marlowe and Finch Jewelers, the same luxury boutique that had shipped Mason Villaro that bracelet last month. Emily's name was on the recipient line, scrawled in elegant script. I knew she'd be home in an hour. I placed the box carefully on the kitchen island, in plain view. A silent grenade waiting for her to pull the pin. Inside wasn't jewelry, just a card. No return address. No tracking barcode inside. Just a matte black card with gold lettering that read, "Did you think this would stay hidden forever?" Beneath it, a single printed photo. The image of her and Mason kissing in the resort pool. He had one hand on her neck, the other submerged, but suggestive. The timestamp in the corner read, 2:42 p.m. Thursday. I sat on the living room couch, pretending to scroll my phone, but my heart was pounding loud enough to drown out the TV. Every second felt stretched and brittle. At 3:11, I heard the garage door rise. Her footsteps entered the mudroom. The rustling of keys. Then silence. I didn't move. A long pause. Then came the voice, high-pitched, trying to sound casual, but laced with tremor. Did you order something from Marlowe and Finch? I looked up slowly, eyebrows raised. No. Why? She held the box like it might bite her. It was sitting here when I got home. Maybe it's a late anniversary gift? I offered, with a careful shrug. Want me to open it? Her fingers tightened around it. No. I've got it. She walked quickly to the hallway, then into our bedroom. Closed the door. I waited 37 seconds. Then I followed. I didn't knock. Just pushed the door open slowly. She stood at the edge of the bed, the box open in her hands, the photo on the comforter like spilled ink. Her face drained of all color. Her mouth opened, then closed. The card was still in her hand. Something wrong? I asked softly. She looked up, wide-eyed. Her pupils were 2 pinpricks. What is this? I feigned confusion. I should ask you that. She didn't speak. Just stood frozen, lips parted, shoulders drawn inward. Finally, she whispered. Where did this come from? I was hoping you'd tell me. Another beat of silence. Then, like a flipped switch, her expression changed. She reached for composure, cobbling together a performance. It's not what it looks like, she began. I tilted my head. So you weren't kissing another man at a resort 4 days ago? She flinched like I'd struck her. I didn't. It was complicated. Try me. Her eyes filled with tears. I wasn't moved. She reached for me, but I took a step back. The space between us widened into a canyon. I was confused, she said. Things between us have felt distant. I didn't plan for anything to happen. I needed to clear my head, and I saw him, and... Don't, I interrupted. Don't insult both of us by pretending it was a coincidence. More tears. She sank onto the edge of the bed, shoulders shaking. I wanted to tell you, she whispered. I just didn't know how. You did tell me, I replied. You just used the wrong words. Instead of I'm sleeping with someone, you said, I'm in the hospital. Creative choice. She looked up, face crumpled. Please, I made a mistake. No, I said flatly. You made a series of decisions. Very deliberate ones. She opened her mouth to say something else, but I walked out. I needed her squirming. I needed her to drown in her lies. I didn't sleep that night. Neither did she. I heard her pacing until 3 a.m., whispering on the phone, probably to Mason. Probably trying to scrub the blood off the crime scene. But it was too late. The dominoes had already started falling. The next morning, I packed a small bag. Just enough to make it look real. As I zipped it shut, she stood in the doorway, arms crossed over her chest, face pale and pleading. Where are you going? To my sister's. Just for the weekend? She asked, voice trembling. I looked at her. That's up to you. She didn't speak. At the door, I turned. Check your email, I said. Then I left. Outside, I sat in the car, gripping the steering wheel. My phone buzzed a minute later. A voicemail. Her voice was breathless, on the edge of breaking. Please come back. Please. I can explain everything. Just give me one more chance. I deleted the message. I drove, not to my sister's, but to a coffee shop 3 blocks from the office where Mason Villaro worked. I sat in the parking lot for over an hour. I watched people come and go, waiting, watching. Finally, at 10:32, he stepped out. Tall, tan, confident. His suit was too slim, too trendy. He looked like the type who closed deals with a wink and a signature cocktail. I followed him. He drove a silver Tesla. Of course he did. I trailed him across town to a minimalist condo building with doormen and private parking. I memorized his license plate, then parked nearby and waited until he disappeared inside. Later that night, I sent him a text from an anonymous number. I know what you did. 2 minutes later, a reply. Who is this? I didn't answer. I sent him the same photo I'd given Emily. The one from the pool. Then I waited. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Then came the silence. The next morning, Emily woke up to an empty house again, but this time, I had wiped all my personal accounts off the family computer. I locked down our joint bank accounts. I changed all the passwords. I scheduled a consultation with the attorney for that afternoon. By lunchtime, Emily called me 9 times. I didn't pick up once. She texted me. Please, can we talk? I didn't mean to hurt you. He meant nothing. Then the one that stood out. Did you send him something? That's when I knew she was scared. Good. Because it wasn't over yet. It was only just beginning. I hadn't spoken to her in 4 days. Not a word. Not a text. Nothing. Emily called me 31 times, left 17 voicemails, and sent over 50 messages. I read every single one. Some were apologetic. Others were angry. A few begged. Most tried to reframe the narrative. That I'd misunderstood. That she had panicked. That it wasn't serious. That it just happened. She used all the classic lines like someone Googling how to survive infidelity exposure. But there was one message that told me everything I needed to know, a single screenshot forwarded by Raymond, the private investigator. It was a text from Mason's phone to an unknown number. He knows. This might ruin everything. He sent me a photo. Everything. That word stayed with me. Ruin everything. As if everything was a plan. A future. I was never part of it. They were already making moves before I ever saw that hospital text. I started to unravel it all. The second email address Emily used wasn't just for hotel bookings. I traced it through old password resets, old cloud logins. It took hours, and the help of a friend from college who still worked in cybersecurity, but I found what I was looking for. Inside a tucked-away Google Drive folder titled Simply Bills, I found the documents, a signed short-term lease for a condo in Tahoe, starting next month. 2 names listed. Emily Harris, Mason Villaro. They were going to move in together. I scrolled further. A relocation checklist. Notes on transferring Maddie's school records. A budget for childcare assistance. A shared grocery app. Everything down to the lamp they wanted from West Elm. This wasn't an affair. It was a transfer of life. And I'd been kept as a placeholder until the new set pieces were ready. I stared at the screen for a long time, hands numb, breath shallow. Then I downloaded everything. I printed 2 full copies and stored them in separate, waterproof folders, one at my attorney's office, one in a safety deposit box under my sister's name. When I finally answered her call on the 5th day, my voice was ice. Hi. The pause on her end felt loaded with every version of her she'd rehearsed. God, I'm so glad you answered, she said, exhaling too loudly. Please, can we talk? Really talk? Not through messages. I know about Tahoe. Silence. You were going to take her. I know. That's not. Her voice cracked. That wasn't. I was confused, okay? I didn't mean to. It was just an idea. You wrote down what mattress you wanted to buy. Don't tell me it was just an idea. Another silence. Then, please don't take Maddie away from me. It was always that way with her. When cornered, pivot to motherhood. The sanctuary defense. But it wasn't going to work this time. You forfeited that card, I said calmly. You were planning a life with another man and writing my daughter into it. You lied about a hospital visit. You left me home playing house while you sipped cocktails in a resort robe. I could hear her breathing through her nose, short and jagged. I don't want to fight, she said finally. I just want to fix this. I smiled bitterly. Funny, I replied. So do I. The next morning, she came over. She stood on the front step like she hadn't once plotted to disappear. No suitcase. No makeup. Just a canvas bag and a hopeful look. I opened the door halfway. Can we talk inside? She asked. I stepped aside. She walked in slowly, like she thought I might be a bear trap that would snap shut if she moved too quickly. The living room looked unchanged. Her favorite blanket still on the couch. Maddie's drawings taped to the fridge. Emily sat down. I didn't join her. You wanted to fix things, I said. Here's how. I dropped a folder on the coffee table. She opened it, eyes scanning the first page, an affidavit for full custody. Then a financial declaration. Then a list of concessions, drafted by my attorney. No alimony, I said. Split assets down the middle. I keep the house. You get the Prius. I keep primary custody. You get visitation. Her hands trembled as she turned the pages. I don't agree to this. You don't have to, I said, calm as glass. It's not a settlement. It's a courtesy. She stood up, fire blooming behind her eyes. You don't get to take her from me. I met her gaze. You tried to steal her first. That was a plan, an idea. It never happened. But it would have, I said coldly. You just ran out of time. She stepped forward. So this is revenge? Punish me? Take my child? No, I said. This is clarity. You wanted freedom. Now you have it. She stared at me, stunned. Then, quietly, she asked, Does she know? Not yet, I said. She will. When she's old enough to understand lies. She collapsed back onto the couch. For the first time, the mask cracked. No more pleading. No more manipulation. Just a woman unraveling in real time. You were never going to forgive me, she whispered. You're right. You were always the quiet one. I never knew how deep you'd cut. Neither did I admitted. Then I reached for my phone and played the audio. Mason's voice, smug and stupid, recorded by Raymond during a recent call. She'll cave. Trust me. He's just stalling. She's got full leverage with the kid. Worst case, she moves to Arizona and files joint custody there. Emily went pale. Her hand shot out, trying to snatch the phone. I stepped back. You really thought I'd walk away without a plan? I said. You lied to me. You lied to her. You lied to everyone. But you forgot something. Her voice barely rose above a whisper. What? I don't forget. She stared at the ground. Get out, I said finally. You'll hear from my attorney. She left. Quietly. No storm, no theatrics. Just the sound of the door closing and the emptiness after. I sat on the couch, staring at the folder she left behind. My hand hovered over it. Then, finally, I slid it into a drawer. I had one more move to make. That night, I sent Mason a message, from a fresh number, of course. Check your inbox. I uploaded everything. The photos, the voice recording, the relocation plan, the fake hospital details, a full copy of my attorney's report and the PI's file. I wanted him to see it all, the wreckage of the woman he thought he knew. Let her lie in ruins. Let them both. It's been 8 months. The house is quieter now. Calmer. Maddie plays with her toys in the sunroom most afternoons, music drifting softly from the radio. Some days she draws for hours, quiet and focused, crayons scattered around her like a halo of color. She doesn't ask about Emily much anymore, not like she did in those first weeks. Why is Mommy at the new place? Why can't she live here too? Did I do something wrong? Questions that felt like needles behind my ribs. I never told her the whole truth. She was too young. I only said that sometimes, grown-ups make choices that mean they can't live together anymore. That her mommy loved her. That she didn't do anything wrong. It wasn't enough. But it was all I had. The custody hearings started ugly. Emily tried to push back hard at first, claimed coercion, emotional manipulation, even suggested I had planted evidence to ruin her reputation. Her lawyer brought in all the tricks, aggressive counters, objections, hollow character attacks. But evidence is a stubborn thing. So is intent. The judge didn't care about the drama. He cared about facts, photos, messages, proof of premeditated abandonment, the attempt to move Maddie without my consent, the voice recordings, the false claims of hospitalization. In the end, it was all too much. Primary custody was granted to me. Visitation for Emily, weekends, supervised, until further review. She cried in court when the decision was read. Not loud, not performative. Just tears down her face as the consequences finally caught up. Mason didn't show. Not even once. As far as I know, he ghosted the moment the recordings were exposed. His business took a hit after a few conveniently leaked files landed in certain inboxes. Clients don't like partnering with people who show up in affairs, custody battles, and PI reports. He tried to reach out once, a single email with the subject line, "Can we talk?" No body text. Just a blank message and a name I'd spent months resenting. I deleted it without opening. Let them rebuild whatever's left of each other. I don't care. Emily moved to a small rental across town, walking distance from the supervised visitation center. She still tries to make things right. She calls Maddie weekly, sometimes joins for school events. But the warmth is gone. Maddie doesn't run to her the way she used to. There's caution now, a built-in hesitation. Like a child instinctively aware of something fragile behind a parent's smile. She asks fewer questions. She just watches. And I wonder if some part of her already understands. The final confrontation with Emily came on a Thursday. Not in court. Not during visitation. But in my driveway, under the pale light of a setting sun. I was getting groceries from the trunk when I heard her voice behind me. "Do you hate me?" I didn't turn. Just kept pulling bags from the back seat. "I think you know the answer." Silence. Then her footsteps on the gravel. "I miss her," she said. "The way she used to laugh with me. The way she looked at me when she was still little." I nodded. Actions have echoes. She stepped closer. "I wasn't trying to destroy anything. You just wanted something different," I said, finally turning to face her. "And you thought you could have both. Me, her, and your escape plan." I panicked. "No," I said softly. "You planned." Her lip trembled. "I've lost everything." "Not everything," I replied. You still get to be her mother. You still get a chance. It's more than you gave me. She nodded, tears welling. Do you think I'll ever get it back? Her trust? I looked toward the window, where Maddie sat watching us from the living room couch, a small blanket pulled to her chest. That's not up to me, I said. Emily turned, walked back to her car, and drove away without another word. The breeze carried the scent of jasmine through the air as I closed the trunk. It reminded me of the resort photo, the way the light hit her hair, the lazy way she leaned into that man's shoulder. A version of her that had stopped existing the moment she hit send on that first hospital lie. She buried herself in a fantasy, and I survived it. That night, I tucked Maddie in. She was half asleep already, warm against her pillow. I sat on the edge of her bed, brushing a few strands of hair from her forehead. Daddy, she mumbled. Yeah, bug. She opened her eyes just a sliver. You're not leaving, right? I swallowed. No, I said. Not ever. She nodded and closed her eyes again. Outside, the wind shook the trees gently. The kind of night where nothing terrible happened. Just quiet. Clean. Still. Sometimes I think about revenge, the layers I orchestrated, the cold efficiency of it all. The way I dismantled her life with the precision of an architect pulling nails from a house he once loved. Some part of me wanted her ruined. Broken. Humiliated. And maybe that part of me still exists. But in the end, what mattered most wasn't the destruction. It was the truth. I took back control of my life. I protected my daughter. And I walked through the fire without burning. People ask if I'd ever forgive her. I tell them forgiveness isn't the point. Memory is. Because betrayal teaches you who someone really is. And surviving it teaches you who you really are. So no, I don't forgive her. But I remember. And I live.